Photographers often make a huge mistake by thinking that their camera is the key to stunning photographs. Well, they're wrong. How's it? Today we're going to be taking a look at the language of photography, the unheralded skill that so many people dismiss when they're kind of chasing the key to striking images that resonate with the people who are looking at their photos. Photography, like any art form really, has its own language. This includes elements like shape, form, texture, light, color, and mood. These are the building blocks of a photograph. These are the tools that can be employed by you to create striking images. Think of it like cooking. Just as a chef uses different ingredients to create a dish, so a photographer uses these elements to create a photograph. Each item, each ingredient adds a unique flavor, and then when you combine them in the right way, this can create a visually delicious image. A great example of all of these at work is to be found in the photography of a guy called Ernst Haas. He was a renowned photographer who was known worldwide for his unique perspectives in photography. He was a pioneering force in especially color photography, when a time when color wasn't really a thing in photography. It was taken, certainly in the art world, less seriously than black and white photographs. And he cut his teeth taking some exceptional portraits of celebrities and all that kind of stuff that was very popular at the time. But everything changed in 1953 when he did a photo essay for Life magazine, which at the time was the first, I believe, major feature to be published exclusively in color. And that helped change the perception of color, and it paved the way for people to take that torch, to run with it. And his work has continued to influence and inspire photographers to this day. But what sets Haas apart is not just the technical skills, but his ability to see the world differently. His photographs often feature these really bold colors, dynamic compositions. Often said that there's an infinity sign in his all compositions, and see if you can see it through his photographs. And there's always a sense of movement. All of these things are illustrations of his mastery of the language of photography. And as we explore Haas's work in the rest of this video, I would encourage you to look for the elements that we've discussed so far. See if you can identify it, the shape, the form, the textures, the lights, the colors, those moods in his photographs. So let's jump in to the language of photography and how you can incorporate these elements into your own images. The shape really refers to the outline of an object within the photograph. Shapes are somewhat two-dimensional. They have kind of a length and a width, and they can be used to create a sense of balance and harmony in your photographs. The next time you're out and about, try to identify interesting shapes that are around you and use them to create a compelling composition. One easy little hack of trying to pull these shapes out of everything that's around you is just to kind of squint your eyes or defocus your lens, and the shapes will kind of appear almost as if by magic. Coupled neatly with shape is form. Now, form is different to shape in so much as it gives us depth, it gives us dimension, it makes that image look real rather than just a flat or shape, really. So when you enhance the form in your shapes, then you introduce a bit of depth. You make a photograph feel like it's got something a little bit more to it. I often find that the photographs that resonate with me the most are the ones that you feel like this is a whole nother world that you're getting a little insight into. The easiest way to introduce form, into your shapes, is by lighting. By using light and shadow to give a sense of volume to the thing that you're photographing. Texture is a wonderful medium because you think about the shape, the look of the thing, and then the form, you're giving it a bit of depth. But texture elevates it completely. It takes that surface detail of the thing that you're photographing and it makes you kind of almost be able to connect with it. If you think about an orange, the orange itself with the skin, if there's no texture to that skin, it doesn't really feel like an orange. But when that texture's in the image, your brain makes that connection between the texture, because it knows what it feels like, it knows what leather feels like, it knows what rocks feel like. And it helps kind of just add in another aspect to your images that really starts to sort of resonate with the person looking at it. To get texture into your images, try and have the light skidding across the surface of whatever it is you're photographing. That's why, aside from the quality of the light, the color of the light, which we'll get on into a second, photographing at the golden hour elevates somewhat average compositions into masterpieces because that light is adding texture to the thing that it is photographing. Light, that was the thing that's bringing texture in, is perhaps one of the most important elements in photography. It can create mood, it adds texture, it can add form, it can highlight shapes. For instance, when you light a scene, like much of that golden hour we talked about a second ago, the warm light evokes that calm, peaceful kind of mood. But if you have something in the middle of the day, that harsh, direct light creates a bit more of a dramatic, intense mood. So when you're out and about photographing, pay attention to the quality, the direction, the color itself of the light in your scene. Color is most often in photography, I think, associated with mood, but color's not just about mood. Color can also create depth. It can highlight a subject, can add visual interest to a scene. Think about a dark, misty, cloudy night, and then there's that flash of red through the photographs. What is the subject? Is it the color, the mood, what have you? But those colors are working together to evoke an emotion inside you. One of the lessons that I've taken from Ernst Haas's photography is that although he traveled to some exotic locations and took some fantastic photographs, the images that resonate with me most are the ones of what are kind of, let's say, fairly normal things. Things that you would expect to see every day. And a lot of people just dismiss. The arrow on the floor with these cars, look at that. That arrow is something that's a strong shape, isn't it? There's a blur of the cars around, so it's got some movement. The color contrast because of the tarmac and the yellows and the reds of the cars. That's a wonderful example of putting a whole bunch of recipes, of ingredients together that Haas is using to craft that fantastic photograph. In my own case, I love shape, I love patterns, things of that sort of nature, and a little bit of texture and a little bit of splash of color in places like parking garages. Anybody who knows me in real life says I can't walk through a parking garage without taking out my phone. And yes, I photograph on a phone and taking pictures. We are encouraged to seek out the extraordinary moments that are just simply waiting to be discovered in the seemingly just, well, what to a lot of people is ugly. What I think really makes Haas's work stand out and why he is still, sort of honored after all these years, and he's been so influential, is that he has an authentic vision. The work, a lot of it came about, that thing with the motion blur came about because he was photographing on Kodachrome, which was a very, very slow, unsensitive film. I think it was like ISO 20 or something. So, you're going to get these camera movements. And for a lot of people, they would have kind of gone, do you know what, that's a mistake. I can't do this. It's no good. But Haas included that. And the voices that he's speaking, or the single voice that he's communicating through his photographs is so powerful. And I believe that everybody has this inside them, this ability to speak clearly through their photographs. And if you are interested in sort of developing your own voice and exploring that further, there is a course that I put together which is dedicated to helping you develop that voice, helping to coax it out. If you want to find out more, there's a link in the description box below. In today's world, there is a huge amount of emphasis on technical perfection in photography, but Haas's work it's actually shot full of what a lot of people today, I would say, were imperfections, mistakes. Masses of motion blur, for example, like I said, with the Kodachrome, the slow shutter speeds. When you use those elements intentionally, it can add a wholly unique element to your photographs. Of course, motion blur is, it's a fairly obvious thing, but there are other ways to embrace imperfections, to go out beyond the norm of the pixel peeping and things like that. You can try things that are intentionally out of focus. What happens if you photograph things completely out of focus? What if you are photographing film and you photograph on a really fast film, so you have lots of grain and you accentuate that grain? And I know a lot of people just say noise is not the same as grain, and you're quite right, it's not the same as grain. But if you are photographing at a super high ISO on your digital camera, rather than thinking of that as horrible or a mistake, try it. What happens if you overexpose? What happens if you underexpose? What if you try unconventional compositions? The imperfections, these mistakes, all that sort of stuff, they can add a character, a uniqueness to your photographs that help them stand out from the crowd. Don't be afraid to experiment, to express yourself through your work. The perfect photograph isn't necessarily the one with the sharpest focus or the most balanced and pleasing composition, but it's the one that expresses your unique vision and tells your compelling story to a viewer who will just simply lap it up. Haas's work also teaches us a very important lesson that's often overlooked today. That is simplicity. We live in a world where photographs are often, they're loud, they're confrontational, they're in our face, they're shouting at us. And I think there's something refreshing about the quiet aesthetic of Haas's photographs. For me, they remind me that the simple, the gentle photographs, they have a place in this world alongside the more brash, the more noisy ones. And that it's okay to take what could be considered maybe old-fashioned images if they make you happy. The legacy of Ernst Haas has served as a powerful reminder of the importance of seeing the world from a unique perspective by stepping out both from the perceived norms, but also our own comfort zones, and challenging the assumptions that we have. And when we do that, we unlock a powerful drive to create photographs that have an impact, that have a character, that have an authentic vision. Mastering the language of photography is simply the beginning to really up your photography game. It's great to combine these elements with composition. And if you want to learn how to improve your compositional game, check this video out over here. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you again soon.